Hi, welcome back. My name is Dr. Marianne Shepard, and I'm so glad to bring you this series on special considerations and reinforcement. This is our third video this month I believe this is our 8th series. So I'm so glad to be bringing this to you. Today, we are talking about schedules of reinforcement. So what is a schedule of reinforcement? A schedule of reinforcement is how often you get paid for the behavior you're doing. Now at work, you're on a schedule of reinforcement. Maybe you are on a weekly schedule that you get paid once a week. Maybe you're on a bi-weekly schedule, not a bi-weekly, a bi-monthly schedule that you get paid twice a month or every 2 weeks. And maybe you're on a monthly schedule that you get paid per month. Now, when you're looking at that schedule, it's the frequency at which you get paid. So schedules of reinforcement are the frequency in which a child will earn the reinforcer for doing their job or for their behavior. And so there's 4 different schedules of reinforcement. They're kind of divided into 2 basic categories, okay? There is a resource that you can look at on our website at www.everydaybehaviors.com. It's titled Schedules of Reinforcement. You can also follow us on Facebook at everydaybehaviors.com, and you can locate that resource in our posts for January of 2020. 2021. Oh, we are out of 2020. Hallelujah. And so when you're looking at your schedules of reinforcement, you're either on a fixed or a variable schedule. So fixed is every X number of times or every X minutes. Or days. So if it's fixed, it's contingent upon a fixed time or a fixed number. The other is variable, so that means on average or approximate. So approximately every certain number of times or approximately every so many minutes, okay? So it's either fixed, where it's predictable, or it's variable, where it's less predictable, but it's an average or an approximate, okay? Now, the other option is, are you basing it on frequency or the number of times the behavior occurs, or are you basing it on time? So this is the difference between hourly versus commission. So if you're thinking about your paycheck, if you're an hourly employee, you're on an interval schedule because your paycheck or the amount that you're paid is based on the time you spend working. However, if you're commission or contract, you're paid based on the number of sales that you make or on the behaviors that you do. So like your contract, how many products do you sell or how many things do you sell for that commission, okay? So if it's interval, it's the time, whereas if it's ratio, it's the frequency or the number, okay? So you can have fixed interval, you can have variable interval. Those are either a fixed amount of time or an average amount of time. You can also have a fixed ratio or fixed interval. That's probably a lot of information. How does this apply to you as a parent? That's what's important, right? Different behaviors have different rates of responding. So if you're familiar with gambling, right? Any form of gambling, it's kind of a guessing game of whether you're going to be reinforced. Every time you scratch that ticket or every time you pull that lever, you don't know what you're going to get. So you may get $1, you may get $10, you may get $50, but every time you pull the lever, you don't know what you're going to get. But you continue to pull the lever because sometimes you do get reinforced. Sometimes, on average, you do win big. And so that results in a very high, steady rate of responding. It's also what happens on Facebook. So when you're scrolling through Facebook, you have a post you're not interested in, a post you're not interested in, not interested. Ooh, interesting. So you stop. Then you scroll a little bit more. Not interested, not interested, not interested, not interested. Ooh, that's interesting. And so that's your reinforcement schedule on Facebook. And it results in a very steady rate of responding because every now and then you are reinforced. So when you're on a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement, it leads to this strong steady. Whereas if you're on a fixed ratio of reinforcement, you respond until you receive your reinforcement. And then you have a ways before you're going to receive your next reinforcement. So you tend to take a break and then you return and you're responding. Okay. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in our post-reinforcement pause. However, for this, you don't have to reward every time your child engages in a behavior. You don't have to reward every time, but you want to look at how often are you rewarding. You want to make sure that your schedule of reinforcement is rich enough to result in continued responding, but you want to space it out, and to some degree you want to make it on average. So this means I'm not going to reward you every time you do your chore, but sometimes I will. And so this is a great way. You can put a sticker in the bottom of the trash can. There isn't a sticker there every time, or a token in the bottom of the trash can every time, but sometimes there's a token in the trash can. This would result in variable reinforcement because sometimes they would get it, but not every time they took out the trash can. But how would they get it? They'd have to take out the trash. Sometimes when you open the dishwasher, there will be a reward there. Sometimes there won't. If you ask for it, it's guaranteed not to be there. But if you continue to do your chores, sometimes it will be there. And then you space out the frequency in which you do that and make it on average. You can make it every third time. If you make it every third time, they're going to learn, hey, the first and the second, I'm not getting it, but I am the third, so I've got to do it at some point in time to get to 3, right? But you're going to see more of those pauses. Whereas if it's variable, then it's always a mystery. Will it be there? Will it not be there when I do my chore? Will I have a token when I turn in my homework, or will I not have a token when I turn in my homework? When I hang up my backpack or push in my chair, or if you want your kids to put their chair on their desk, when I pick up my chair to flip it over, sometimes I will have a token, sometimes I won't, but how will I know? Gotta flip it over. This can also be based on time. So the length of time children spend playing can be one, or the length of time that they're quiet or following the rules, or the length of time that they're raising their hand and waiting. So you can base it on time, you can base it on frequency. However, if it's variable, you're going to have a more steady rate of responding. If it's fixed, you're going to have those post-reinforcement pauses, which we'll talk about in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to presenting more information on this to you.